coming up on Refresh Cinema.
And then he also gets El Mariachi in the back a few times.
Oh, yeah, dangerous.
And he's hunched over. He's got 3 knives sticking out of his back. And that's when Kyle, my partner, said, "That's the hottest porcupine I've ever seen." I died. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Refresh Cinema. I'm Jess.
And I'm Vincent, and today we're talking about Desperado.
Yes, the prequel to Spy Kids. It's got Antonio Banderas.
Yeah.
It's got Machete.
Got Machete.
And it's got Steve Buscemi.
Got Steve Buscemi.
It's the prequel to Spy Kids. I'm sorry.
No, that was good. That was good. Yeah. So this film was from Robert Rodriguez, which is why we have all the Spy Kids connections. It's so funny that he made movies like this, and then he made them for his kids. The Spy Kids movies were for his kids, so I get it. But so yeah, Desperado stars Antonio Banderas and salmahayek, and Banderas plays the mariachi, a gunslinger who goes town to town taking out drug dealers and their men. He's after a particular drug kingpin known as Bucho, but he doesn't know what Bucho looks like, and he thinks he's finally tracked him down to the town that he calls home base. This is an action movie I have watched ever since I was a kid, and I love it. I think it was my introduction to both Banderas and Hayek. So yeah, this and boy, do they both make an impression in this film.
And last night was my first time watching it, and it was so hard for us to not talk about it on the way here. Like, all of my excitement from it.
Oh, she was I was like,
love it. I'm so glad this was Vincent's pick. I'm so glad this was your pick.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
Awesome.
Yes.
Oh, God, I love sharing movies with friends.
That's nice.
So yeah, before we get into like the plot and the story and all that, is it possible that Antonio Banderas as El Mariachi is the sexiest action character of all time? Because I am a man who's comfortable enough in his sexuality to admit the dude is slick and smooth and hot as hell. Friggin' James Bond's taking notes from this guy. You know what I'm saying? Right? He's so, oh my God. He's so, like, not only does he do the action well, but when him and salmahayek link up, and he's being all smooth with her and sexy, and you know. And
from the perspective of a woman, he's nice to the kid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. He's gorgeous. He is smooth, and he's kind to children. Yeah. We're just gonna sign me up.
Yeah. And
I watched this with my partner Kyle. And when we discuss a certain point, Kyle made a comment that relates back to Antonio Banderas just being like, on fire. Yes. Should we discuss his motivations for why he's tracking El Bucho?
Yeah. It should be stated that this is technically a sequel. That there is a movie called El Mariachi. It was I think it's Robert Rodriguez's first movie, but it was an independent film. I've never actually seen El Mariachi. And I didn't feel it necessary to watch it because I've already watched this movie growing up so much, and our show is about the movies we loved growing up. So I'm already tuned into this film, but yeah. So this Antonio Banderas was in the first one. When I say Rodriguez, it was an independent film. There was no big name actors in it, but yeah. So basically, the backstory of the El Mariachi is that he was a real mariachi. He was a musician, but he accidentally ran into some criminals. One of them shot his hand. He can no longer play the guitar, and they also killed the woman he loved. So now he's after all these criminals who we find out later, Bucho, the main villain of the movie, he really is a drug kingpin. He doesn't just run the town that he lives in. He's got men in every town running his drugs through the border. Apparently he's got to deal with the Colombian crime syndicate to get drugs through the country. So Bucho, he's not just the guy that runs the town. He's got places all over Mexico where the movie's taking place.
The way it starts with Steve Buscemi walking into a bar, explaining to everybody about this mariachi who has taken out another bar in search of Bucho.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, what year is this movie from?
I want to say, damn. I want to say it's early 90s. I want to say it was 90 or 91 or something.
Steve Buscemi could get it.
What? Whoa!
I don't. I'm sorry. Just Steve Buscemi could get it.
You know what? Good for Steve Buscemi, because people don't know what to say, And he's a great guy, because I'm sure a lot of people know. I'm just going to throw this in real quick. Steve Buscemi was a former firefighter, and on 9/11, he went back to his old firefighter place, said, guys, how can I help? And they put him right back into gear, and he helped out on 9/11. That's a true story. Steve Buscemi, you rock, dude. You're not only a great actor, you're a great guy.
Oh my God, now we're hot for Steve Buscemi.
Give you some of that Buscemi.
Ooh, sorry. But yeah, and I would honestly watch an entire movie of Steve Buscemi just sitting there telling the bartender everything. And that's
yeah. The bartender played by Cheech Marin.
Yes.
And he's playing up like this guy just came in and he blew everybody away. And he was like large. He was like the biggest dude I ever seen. And yeah, he's like make this guy like he's the Mexican boogeyman or something, like that.
Steve Buscemi is describing El Mariachi, Antonio Banderas to these people.
Yeah.
I mean, every step he took towards the light, just when you thought his face was about to be revealed, it wasn't.
So yeah,
he's like, you won't believe what I just witnessed.
Yeah, and he goes back to him and he's like, dude, this is the bar you want to hit. I mentioned Bucho's name, and they all freaked out.
We should mention they're in cahoots.
Oh yeah,
Steve Buscemi and Antonio Banderas are in cahoots.
Buscemi goes into a place to figure out whether or not Bucho is connected, and if he is, he plays up, Banderas as like the Grim Reaper himself, and then so he's the information guy. He goes in first, stakes out a place to see if it's cool or not, and then and
he always mentions that Antonio Banderas has his guitar with him. That's a big identifier for him.
And he's using fear. He's like freaking people out, because the bartender says like they've been hearing stories before of a guy with a guitar case, and so his word is spreading, because he's already taken out, and he wasn't lying. He has taken out another bar with Bucho's men before. He's working his way up the line to Bucho. It's kind of like a video game like that. Like each bar is a new level in the video game. Antonio Banderas, he gives himself a little shave. There's some like cool music playing in the background. He hits the road, gets to this town. He's across the street from the bar where Buscemi, talked to them and played him up a bit. And we get to subplot where there's this little kid who's learning how to play guitar. He wants to grow up to be a musician, maybe a mariachi. And, Banderas gives him a few tips. But, he tries to show him like, oh, this, but then we see the scarred hand, and he's like, he just shows him what he can do with his good hand. He's like, you got to play all the time. And a little thing to point out, that when he's with the kid and the kid's talking, you start to hear the sound of kids laughing in the background. A little diegetic sound, I believe that's what it's called.
Practice.
And later, Bucho runs into the kid later in the movie, the villain, and he hears the same kind of kids' laughter playing in the background when he sees the kid playing the guitar. And it's all foreshadowing for stuff that's coming up later. But anyway, so Banderas goes into the bar, and everybody in the bar, it's not just a bartender who's working for Bucho, it's everybody in that bar works for Bucho. And we come to find out later in the film, Bucho owns this whole town. Everybody knows who Bucho is, but nobody will go against him.
Yeah.
He runs, this is Buchoville right here, okay? But, minor subplot, Quentin Tarantino showed up, and apparently he's a drug runner or something, and he's here to pick up some stuff. And he tells a story about a guy who peeing all over the bar. It doesn't mean anything to the whole plot of the film. Just Robert Rodriguez let Quentin Tarantino be in this movie because they're friends.
Hey, pal, come in and do some weird stuff and leave.
Yeah. But anyway, so he's like, Banderas walks in, smooth as hell.
I'm just looking for work. There's no work here. I see.
What's in the guitar case? He's like, my guitar. He's just oh, smooth as hell. And they're like, no, and they point a gun at him, like, don't touch it. And like, they open it up, and it's just like, and they're like, what's in there? And it's like, it's a guitar. And then click, and then the guitar is just a hatch, and it raises up, and it's a guitar case full of pistols and grenades and shotguns, and he's just like, he tries to, I'm like, hey guys, I'm just here to kill Bucho. I'm just here to kill Bucho. I don't want to kill you. And they're like, shoot him. And he's like,
Not yet.
guns pop out of his sleeves, and he just unloads.
It's amazing.
It's crazy.
It's like a magic trick.
Is this your gun? And it proceeds to have like this insane bar gunfight. Bullets are going all over the place. He's dual wielding pistols, and he's going, and he's just being so cool. And he screams at one point. This one guy shoots at him and misses, and he's because it's Banderas. He's like, "You missed me!" And
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So cool.
He's so cool while doing it, and he's completely outmatched. And one of the things I like about El Mariachi is he's not like a John Wick type or pick any Steven Seagal movie. He's not a guy who's like former Black Ops, former CIA, former Marine. He is a self-taught gunslinger, but yet he's just going in. And some of the action is so crazy where one guy leaps off the bar, tries with a knife to come flying down, stabbing off him, and Banderas just kicks him off and just unloads both clips of his guns. He must have unloaded like 10 plus bullets into one guy, and he's just constantly reloading because he hits everybody, but he's not that great of a shot, so he just shoots until he's sure he's hit them. And it's just this bloodbath, and everything's going crazy. And it's just a crazy, crazy fight. Awesome. So good. So good. And then he comes down to this one guy, and he's just like, hey, man, if you want to go, split. Like I said before, I don't want to kill you guys. I just want Bucho. But then they have it out, and... Yeah.
Is this the scene where none of their guns have any bullets?
So they keep just grabbing guns off the floor, and they're just like... And finally, like, the bad guy grabs the one gun that possibly has a bullet in it. Who knows? It's the only gun left in the area.
And he presses it against El Mariachi's throat. And
Mariachi snaps his damn neck.
Tosses him aside.
Yeah. And then he leaves a note, like, I'm looking for Bucho or something. So he leaves, and then he's walking down the street. He's got his guitar case, and there was this one guy who was in the back room, and he's following El Mariachi, and he's got a big gun. I think it's like a Desert Eagle, I think that was the type of gun. And he's following him, and then we get introduced to salmahayek in the best way. Do you want to...
Oh, yes, salmahayek. She's beautiful, obviously.
Gorgeous.
Stunning. And she's just walking through the streets, and two cars crash into each other because they're so fixated on just watching her walk away. It's a beautiful scene. It's amazing.
Right? It's just like, how can we emphasize how hot this woman is, even beyond just looking at her? Oh, we're going to have a car accident.
And the guys don't even care.
Yeah.
They're still catcalling her as they've, like, collisioned.
Yeah. Her character is Carolina.
Yes.
So she comes in, and she's walking down the street, and her and Antonio Banderas meet eyes, and she's all, like, giving him the look, and he's like, huh? Right.
Wow.
And the guy comes from behind, and he goes to, like, shoot, and Antonio Banderas pushes her out of the way, and they wrestle on the ground, and he blows the guy's brains out, and just blood and brains all over Banderas.
And she's just like, wow, a bad boy.
Yeah.
She doesn't seem too phased.
No.
But also keep in mind, when the guy started following them, we see in the shadows, sweet baby angel, Machete.
Danny Trejo. Who we saw actually earlier in the film first when El Mariachi's trying to get like a ride on the road, and he puts his hand out, and who's in the side seat of the truck? Danny Trejo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Danny Trejo is this character who we're not sure who he is at first, but so then Bucho comes in, he finds the bar, his right-hand man, I forget his right-hand man, but throughout the whole movie, he's like...
You've heard stories of that man that carries a guitar case full of weapons. Bucho. Those are stories, man. That's all they are, is stories.
And then Bucho's just like, everybody's dead!
What do you mean he's a myth?
The bullets just didn't magically appear in their bodies. Like, he just, like, the guy's like, he's a cocky idiot, but he's the best idiot in town, so he's Bucho's right-hand man. But anyway, so we get introduced to like El Mariachi and Salmahayek. She owns a bookstore in a town where nobody reads, apparently.
Yeah.
With just a medical book, so takes the bullet out of his arm. And they have this little moment where she gives him like some painkillers, but he grabs a cup of hot water to pour it down. He's like, "That shit, what you doing to me, eh?" I feel stupid. I'm not going to do an accent anymore. Anyway. But they sew him up. He takes a nap. And then she, while he's taking a nap, she goes to look at his guitar case and it opens up, which you need like a safety switch on that thing.
Something.
Yeah. And he's like, grabs her arm because she's going to go grab a gun. And he's like, no, 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 no. And then he just charms the out of her. This guy, she saw, like, I mean, he saved her life, legitimately saved her life. And then he lays on the charm and the sexiness. And you can tell, like, she's into him. Because after he's thrown on the charm, he's like, I got to go somewhere. Can you watch my guitar case full of guns? And she's like, and she's like, where are you going? He's like, going to church.
Confess my sins. I'm a sinner.
And yes, you are a sinner. You're the best sinner that's ever been. And he's just so smooth. And she's like, yeah.
I'm into this.
He's so, like, once again, like, I wish I had this kind of riz. I wish I had this mexa riz. Anyway.
Santana wrote the song about him. Rob Thomas watched this and he was like, Antonio Banderas.
Yeah. So he goes to church where he's just really meeting up with Steve Buscemi.
But he goes into the confessional. He's like, forgive me, Father. I've killed several men.
Yeah.
Steve Buscemi's like, I fucking know, dude. What's wrong with you? Yeah. You laid out all these people. Now every hitman's going to be looking for you.
Yeah. Because this isn't the first time. Every time he goes to a bar, he just wants Bucho. But every time he finds himself apparently in a huge gunfight. And he's just murdered tons of people. Because one of the things that I like about the character, as much as this is in many ways just a straight up action revenge film, there are moments in the film where Antonio Banderas is like, you can tell he doesn't really like himself a whole lot, because he used to just be a musician, not a very good one, but that's what he wanted to do with his life. And he knows the person he's become now is
so different. He was just a struggling musician in love with a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
And now he's just pew pew.
Yeah, I like that, because you can have those action heroes who are like, they're out for revenge and they don't see anything wrong in their vigilantism, but he's somewhat self-aware. He knows he should just stop.
Yeah.
He knows killing Bucho's not going to bring his woman back, but his pain continues to drive him forward. He just can't give it up. He's too deep into it now. He doesn't know how to get out of it.
Yeah.
And I like that, and that, his acknowledgement, he has a few moments in the film where he's just like, I didn't used to be like this. I used to be so different. He acknowledges that he's not the best of people.
He used to be a soft boy.
Yeah.
That's the new lingo. He's a soft boy.
So him and Buscemi have an argument. They go out onto the street, and he's like, okay.
Steve Buscemi's like, I'm done, man.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah. Which, by the way, in the credits, you know what Steve Buscemi's listed as?
What?
Buscemi.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They never say his name in the movie, so he's just Buscemi.
Buscemi.
So we can just assume this is just Steve Buscemi in an alternate universe. Where he ended up in Mexico.
So the priest comes up and says, do you want to do a confession? And he says, after what I'm about to do, I'll just come right back.
Yeah.
Like, BRB. Just hold on.
Yeah. So
shit's gonna go down.
Totally. He confronts Buscemi out on the street. He's like, you know what? You're right. We should end this. And he's like, oh, thank God you're thinking straight, And then Danny Trejo comes out of nowhere and starts flinging knives, takes out Buscemi straight in the chest. Buscemi goes down. Mariachi takes one in the arm. He takes another one in the forearm to block one from getting him in the face.
Yeah.
He goes down, but great timing. Bucho sent his men out in his new bulletproof limousine, and they don't know what El Mariachi looks like. So they see this guy with like deadly knives because, Danny Trejo, he's got a mean looking face. Like when he's like mean, like, oh my God, So they start firing at Danny Trejo, and he starts chucking knives at them. He takes
everybody.
Yeah. And, eventually he takes out a few of them, but eventually they get Danny Trejo.
Well, and then he also gets El Mariachi in the back a few times.
Oh, yeah.
And he's hunched over. He's got 3 knives sticking out of his back. And that's when Kyle, my partner, said, that's the hottest porcupine I've ever seen. I died.
Shout out to Kyle.
Right? Shout out to my party sister. Like that's the hottest porcupine in cinema or something hilarious like that. 10 out of 10. And I had to share that with you.
Yes, you had to. If you mentioned this to me a week later, I would have been angry. Anyway.
So also we have to backtrack a little bit. There's a scene with El Bucho and his men, and he's calling his contact, and he's like, "Oh, you have a guy out surveilling. What's he look like?
Yeah.
I need to tell my men." And there's like a whole miscommunication, so he doesn't get to tell his men what the like surveillance guy looks like.
Right.
So then they take out Danny Trejo. They bring him back. They're carrying him. They're all smiles.
We did it. We got the guy.
Yeah, and there's Bucho on the phone. Okay, what's your guy look like? Dark hair, dark skin, right? Tattoo of a girl on his chest. And there it is. And does he have weapons? Knives. And he's so upset. And he needs to call somebody. Remind me what he's calling somebody for. Because there's the scene.
What is the f***ing number to the phone in my car?
Oh, because he wanted to warn them, like, hey, the Colombians have one of their people in town keeping an eye on us. Don't shoot the Colombian guy. Because, like Bucho's the king of his world, but the Colombian crime syndicate that he's working for scares him.
Yeah.
Bucho is the guy who's usually the one scaring people, but he's working for the Colombians, who are a much bigger organization than he is.
And they've sent Trejo.
Yeah.
To sort of like keep an eye on everything.
Yeah, because they didn't trust Bucho to get it done.
And Bucho's got the classic cell phone from the early 90s. It's like as big as my soda bottle. And he sends his guys out in the car, and he's trying to call them to tell them like what Trejo looks like. And he doesn't know the phone number for his car.
Yeah.
And he's screaming at everyone. He's like, "What's the phone number for my car?" Losing his mind. It's hilarious. I know we're going to have to bleep that out, but
it's okay.
It's so funny.
We've already got a lot of bleeps set up.
Yeah,
so
that's
fine. So anyway, like they bring it back. It's like, oh,
R.I.P. Trejo.
Yeah, they killed the wrong guy. We go back to El Mariachi. He bumps into the kid with the guitar again, and he's like, the kid's got a guitar, and he's like, "Come with me. I'm going to go get my guitar." And he's like, "What do you mean? You already have your guitar?" I'm like, "No, this is my dad's guitar." And
He's like, "I can't play this."
Yeah, and he's got like random like bandanas like wrapped around his arms to try to stop the bleeding.
Oh yeah, and they're just all red.
Yeah, and he's like following the kid, and the blood smearing on the wall. And he finally goes up, and the kid exchange a identical guitar with some people in a car, and they come around, and El Mariachi pulls out his gun. He's like, "Give me the damn guitar," grabs it, busts it open. There's a brick of cocaine in the guitar, and that goes to show you that Bucho, everybody in this town either works for Bucho or they stay out of his way. Bucho's corrupted everyone, even this kid, who like he
might be like 10.
Yeah, because it's really he's doing this work. The kid's doing the work for his dad. His dad works for Bucho, and his dad just stays home all day watching TV because Bucho pays him to exchange the drug guitars.
Yeah, bless Antonio Banderas. He's like, "Is this why your dad's home all the time?
Yeah.
Like, is this why he quit his job or something like that?" And he's like, "Is this like really worth it?" And you see him being just like this positive figure, even for a second.
Yeah.
In this kid's life.
Yeah, because the kid being another musician, he probably sees the kid as, a kid could possibly represent that last bit of like goodness that he's holding on to, so he doesn't cross that line into Bucho territory. He's a full-blooded, bloody vigilante. He's not doing this for justice. He's doing it for full revenge.
Yeah.
But the kid is like that last bit of him that could just, and probably salmahayek,
Yeah.
the people that are like, keeping him from, Anyway, so and the kid tells him like, "Oh, even Carolina does it." So he goes back to Salma Hayek thinking that she works for Bucho and that she called him and told him to send him after him. But no. It just happened. Horrible effing coincidence.
Yeah.
So they have this moment where Bucho suddenly shows up and she like knocks Banderas out of the way to hide. So he's like behind the bar. Bucho comes in. He's like, "Hey, have you seen a weird guy around?" And, he tries to kiss Salma Hayek, but she kind of like pulls away as he's kissing. And it's like, okay. And, you can tell there's something between her and Bucho at some point. And she lies to tell him like, "No, I haven't seen anybody, but I'll tell you if I see anyone."
Bucho's like, "You better not be lying to me."
Yeah, because know what I'll do. So he leaves, and then long story short, she stitches up Antonio Banderas again because now he's got more wounds, and then they proceed to have
Adult time.
Adult
Interaction.
with the lights turned down low and candles all over.
800 friggin' candles.
Yeah.
Carl was like, where did all these candles come from? How long did that take to light all those candles?
They were lit by their passion.
By the time I'm done lighting candles and then they blow out and I have to relight them, I'm like, let's just go to bed. That's too much. I'm in my 30s.
Yeah. But no, it's a hell of a sex scene. They even do like a panorama shot at one point, and it's just like they were doing all the positions, and it's you know what, pun intended. It's a hot scene. You know. So,
Yeah.
so they do that, and then we switch to Bucho, who's having sex with a prostitute, I assume, and
he does not care at all.
Yeah, this is just a distraction for him. Like, he's not getting really any pleasure, and then
he looks like he's thinking about doing his taxes. He just does not look.
I owe this much to the Colombians. And then he sends his men after. He figures like, okay, Carolina is hiding him. So they go there. We have another shootout where him and Salmahayek are running around. Boom, boom, bang. They've set her bookstore on fire. Goes up in flames. They're climbing up top of the roofs now. They're shooting. The guys are like at the underneath. They're shooting up at them and stuff like that. And then finally, El Mariachi takes a couple grenades, throws them down, grabs his guitar case, grabs Salmahayek. They walk off. Explosion in the background, slow-mo. Looking like she should be like, huh? Oh God. But no, they're both like, no, cool mode. They're just like, we go, yeah. So eventually, a little time passed. Bucho shows up to find out, okay, did you get him? And Salmahayek's like, oh, there's Bucho. And he's like, he grabs like a big pistol with like a sniper scope on it, and he's ready to shoot Bucho.
And Bucho turns around. You can see his face now. And
he doesn't shoot him.
His face just drops.
Yeah. And then Salmahayek's like, shoot him. He's going to kill me. You got to do something. And he's like, shut up. And they run off. They have like a squabble. And we go back to Bucho's headquarters where he's talking to all his men. It's like,
you drive around town. You see someone you don't know, you shoot them. How hard is that, huh?
That's my motto.
I don't how complicated is this? And then he grabs a gun off his second in command, who's just a complete idiot because he just can't get anything done. And he points to this one guy with a huge mustache on his face.
Who's always doing a really over dramatic frowny face in a comedic fashion. It's hilarious.
And he's like, who's that guy? I don't know him. It must be him. And he blows him away in front of like his other men. And it's like the classic villain thing. He shoots one of his men to show how evil he is. Except at least he's making a point. Like, hey, you're all expendable.
Yeah.
Kill this guy. So he sends everybody out once again in his bulletproof limousine and the trucks. And he sent out damn near every man he's got left in his gang. And we go back to Banderas, the male mariachi. He's like, listen, Carolina, just take the money you made off of working for Bucho those years and get out of town. And she's like, it was all in the bookstore. I hid them in the books. I got nothing. And he's like, oh, crap. So then he has to call his buddies, Campa and Kino, who are a couple of vigilantes just like him, also with guitar cases.
But their cases are the shit. Their entire case is like a grenade thrower thing, something, flares. I don't know what it was. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
They just go, and their entire guitar cases are weapons.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. So the three of them meet up. Somehow they meet up at the spot where Bucho's men are coming through. I don't know if he called them and be like, I'm going to be here. There's no reason why they're all meeting, why they know where all to be. It doesn't matter.
Back together again, eh? Yeah. Let's play.
But then, so he busts open his guitar. He's dual wielding again, El Mariachi. I don't know which one's Campa and Kino. I think Campa's the one whose guitar case is actually a rocket launcher.
Yeah.
And then Kino's the one who's got two guitar cases and they're just large machine guns. And he just points them and bullets fly out the tip of the case.
Amazing.
And even Banderas is like, what the f***? What have you guys been up to?
It's been a while.
As cool, yeah, and once again, it's like a video game. Like if this was an El Mariachi video game, these guitar cases would be like the upgrade weapons you could buy later in the game, and just like da 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 da. So they're going at it. Bucho's men are flying all over the place, dying and rockets and boom and crash and it's all happening. And Banderas is doing his thing, which I want to defend El Mariachi's, like, we'll call it normal suitcase, as awesome as Campa and Kino's cases are, and they're cool as hell. As a kid, I'm like, I've never owned a gun. I have no desire to own a gun, but I want those. At least Al Mariachi has a variety of guns, say, for different situations.
Yes,
He's got more variety. He's got more of a Swiss Army knife of cases. I give him that. But anyway, so they're taking these guys out left and right, and unfortunately, for some reason, the kid is there. And he takes a bullet, and Campa goes down. He leaves Kino alone to go check on the kid. Kino gets taken out. But they took out the other men beforehand. Salmahayek grabs one of the bad guys' trucks and starts running guys over.
She's just like, we're getting this done efficiently.
Yeah. So then they drive off. They get the kid to the hospital. And
I wonder, maybe the kid is there. Maybe like his dad is one of the dudes in the circle, because he said his dad, just sits around and gets to hang all day.
I would assume his dad's one of the low-level dudes. He's just one of the low-level guys that takes care of the, he's
why else would the kid be there? Maybe he was like helping with a run.
Yeah, I don't know. They did. It's not properly set up. Why? Like I said, it's not even properly set up like how the bad guys knew that the mariachis were going to be, or let alone why the kid's there. But it's okay. It's a ridiculous action film. There's certain stuff where as much as it doesn't make sense, the action is what's important. They're like, this is one of the things where it's like, it doesn't matter. You take him to the hospital, and then finally, like, he's like, I got to end this. So him and Salmahayek get in the truck, and they go to Bucho's headquarters, a big, like, mansion with a big wall around it. And Salmahayek's like, I don't know if this is his place. And Al Mariachi's like, this is the place. I could tell. So they would go in. Bucho's there with the few men he has left pointing guns, and it turns out...
I thought I was looking for the devil himself. And all this time, it was my own brother.
Hermano.
I know. Which is probably why we both heard, like, the laughing kid laughter when one of them... I'm assuming that's the sounds of their childhood playing as kids.
Yeah.
And he's still there to kill Bucho.
Yeah.
Like, even Bucho's like, you've come here to kill me. Wait, you know who I am? And yet you've come here to kill me. Wow. And he goes off on him. He goes like, you've ruined everything I've done. And he's like, and finally, you know what? You're my younger brother. You've killed my men. Fine. But we gotta make this balanced. We gotta make this fair. So I'm gonna kill Carolina. I'm gonna kill her, and you can just leave. And then we're square. We're even. And he points the gun at Carolina. He looks at El Mariachi.
And there's like a long pause with this of back and forth looks.
Because I think he knows that, because Bucho's kind of in the shit now. Mariachi has killed like 90% of his men, if not most, because there's only like Bucho, like 3 or 4 other people left in the compound. Yeah. Right? Bucho knows he's screwed. His entire drug trafficking organization is screwed to hell. The Colombians are going to probably come for him. So I think he knows that he's screwed. He knows his empire's dead. And I think he's just... if I had to take, and maybe I'm reading too much into this, I think he wants his brother to kill him. I think he'd rather his brother kill him than the Colombians. Yeah. Because if the Colombians show up, they're probably going to torture him first. So I think he's pointing the gun at Carolina, knowing he's going to die anyway. That's how I view it. Yeah. So he points the gun at Carolina, and then they're giving each other looks, and then boom, he does. The guns pop out of his sleeves again, and he just unloads.
Abracadabra, bitch! Yeah. Another magic trick.
Oh god, I've only had like a top hat. It comes out, a shotgun pops out.
Ooh,
like, boom.
That's great.
It's rabbits inscribed on the side of the shotgun.
Oh, Kyle said it. Is this your gun?
Yeah. Fades to white. We're back in the hospital. The kid's okay. His dad shows up. Oh, this is something that Banderas did earlier in the film before he went to go meet with Buscemi at the church. He's like, looks at Carolina. He's like,
did I thank you?
No, you didn't.
Okay. I will.
And he says this again to Enter. He's like, okay, I'm leaving. I'm just going to move on. And she's like, where are you going? I don't know. And then he turns around. Once again, he's like,
did I thank you?
No.
I will.
Right? He runs off. He's going down the road. She drives up in the truck. She's like, I want my thank you right now.
Now. You will thank me now.
Yeah. So he takes his guitar case of guns, chucks it away, gets in the car, gives her a big old schmooch, says thank you. And then they drive off. but then they throw it in reverse. He grabs the gun, grabs the guitar case. It's like, it's a long way to the next town, you know.
Yeah, just in case.
Yeah. And that is a Desperado.
Yeah, they're happily ever after. He finds another love.
Until the next movie.
Is there a part 2?
It's called Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
Oh.
It has Johnny Depp in it. I have never watched it, but apparently it's not very good. It was if I remember correctly, it was a huge flop.
So we'll pretend like it never happened.
Yes.
Great. So that's Desperado.
Desperado!
Yes.
This movie is such a crazy, fun, ridiculous, and I mean ridiculous in a good way, action movie with a charismatic leads in it. Because, I mean, Salma Hayek is also great in this movie.
Yeah.
She's a lot of fun. She's charismatic, too.
And she's a strong character. She is
Yeah.
a strong, independent woman.
Yeah.
And she is running in mismatched heels. And they don't even have the strap on the back. They're the clicky-clacky. Flip-floppy heels. I'm like, okay, girl, I could never. I would be on my face.
Yeah, and him and her and Antonio Banderas have great chemistry.
They do.
I cannot stand it when two actors do not have chemistry and they're supposed to be romantic leads in a film.
Yeah.
I recently watched a movie with some friends, a recent film called Argyle. Mm-hmm. And the two leads in that movie did not have any chemistry. And they're both good actors. It was Bryce Dallas Howard and Sam Rockwell, both very talented actors. They did not have the chemistry to pull off what was going on in that film. These two do.
You believed that they were like going home together.
Yeah. Oh, God. Desperado. Great action movie. I've watched it, I don't know how many times over the years. I probably said this in other episodes. I don't know. I'll probably watch it, I don't know how many more times. But yeah, if you're just looking for a good, crazy action film with a Mexican twist on it, this movie's got it in spades.
Mexican twist. And it's nice because despite all the killing and the revenge and this, that, and the other thing, it's sort of a lighter film.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely lighter moments, as bloody as you can get. Because, like, the scene where Antonio Banderas is, like, following the kid to exchange, and, like, the blood smearing, he's, like, barely keeping his body up.
He looks a little woozy.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because he's, like, trying to be nice to the kid, but he's damn near bleeding to death.
There are bits of humor in it, which is nice. And also the scene, it's very bright. It's colorful. Yeah. Like, it's, light. And it's sort of like a lighter action murder flick, if that makes sense. It's not like I'm watching John Wick and I'm like, oh, my God. I'm like, oh, shit, yeah, kill him.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah.
10 out of 10 from me.
I hope they make like a comic book, and maybe they do because they make comic books about anything, where like El Mariachi teams up with like another action hero or something. Like, oh, El Mariachi teams up with like John McClane from Die Hard.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy.
Yes.
Like what are you doing in New York? Buccio had a son. He's here. We're starting the drug trade. I don't know. I gotta stop him. But no. I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
I loved it.
Because she really when I picked her up in the car today to go, so you were trying to hold it back. I was trying to hold it back. I was like, oh yes.
Yes, because I'm not a big action movie person.
Yeah.
But so good.
Yeah. Whew. All right, everybody. Okay. That is our discussion about Desperado. Have you seen Desperado? Let us know down in the comments, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. All right.
Wow.
Very good.